TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserts that anyone who thinks that Israel would not fulfill its declared objectives vis-a-vis the war in Gaza is delusional. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant reveals that the Navy and Air Force are preparing for a command to contend with threats to maritime shipping. Iranian proxies in Iraq have yet again launched rockets toward bases housing U.S. service members. The Israeli military has essentially completed mapping the strategic subterranean infrastructure of the Islamist Hamas in the northern sector of the Gaza Strip. Addressing the latest operational developments in the Palestinian enclave, Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari announced that the IDF has expanded its operational activities to additional neighborhoods.
The IDF forces are intensifying the combat, extending our operations to Derech Tufa near Shujaiya. This completes our engagement in Jabaliyah, Beit Hanaun, Shujaiya, Derech Tufa, all of which are close to communities near the Gaza Strip, including near Kfar Aza and Meflesim. We aim to redefine the border security in our fight against terrorism in these areas. We will ensure a different security situation, allowing residents to return when the time comes.
Admiral Hagari continued by announcing that the IDF has taken hold of the main underground infrastructure of the leadership of Hamas, which was utilized by the Islamist terror group for the purpose of controlling the northern part of the terror-infested enclave.
Today, we revealed that IDF forces are operating in the elite Hamas quarter in central Gaza City. This area is concentrated with Hamas political and military leadership institutions. This space served as cover for hundreds of terrorist infrastructures embedded within civilian buildings. Using intelligence, our ground forces exposed an intricate network of strategic underground infrastructure that was utilized by the Hamas leadership, Hani Yadaf and Yehya Sinwar, who all used these infrastructures, both in routine and in emergencies, including at the start of the war on October 7th, when they conducted their operations from there.
It is worth noting that the subterranean infrastructure included a network of tunnels from the referred to elite Hamas quarter, stretching out into a number of hospitals, including Shifa, as well as schools, UNRWA facilities, and other civilian infrastructure. And while the IDF is working systemically to eradicate terror infrastructure in Gaza, the Biden administration is seemingly ratcheting up its pressure on Israel to transition from the current high-intensity phase to a more limited capacity, irrespective of the operational requirements related to the war's objectives.
It's clear that the conflict will move and needs to move to a lower intensity phase. And we expect to see and want to see a shift to more targeted operations with a smaller number of forces that's really focused in on dealing with the leadership of Hamas, the tunnel network, and a few other critical things. And as that happens, I think you'll see as well the harm done to civilians also decrease significantly. We've said all along, and we have these conversations almost every day, that it is vitally important how Israel conducts its operations.
The Biden administration's top diplomat went on to note, however, that while it is tentative to international calls to end the conflict in Gaza, it is baffled by the fact that none of those calling for a ceasefire are urging the aggressor, namely the Islamist Hamas, to lay down its arms, which would end the war effective immediately.
One of the things that's striking to me is that, understandably, everyone would like to see this conflict end as quickly as possible. But if it ends with Hamas remaining in place and having the capacity and the stated intent to repeat October 7th again and again and again, that's not in the interests of Israel. It's not in the interests of the region. It's not in the interests of the world. And what is striking to me is that even as, again, we hear many countries urging the end to this conflict, which we would all like to see, I hear virtually no one saying, demanding of Hamas that it stop hiding behind civilians, that it lay down its arms, that it surrender. This is over tomorrow if Hamas does that. This would have been over a month ago, 6 weeks ago, if Hamas had done that. And how can it be that there are no demands made of the aggressor and only demands made of the victim? So it would be good if there was a strong international voice pressing Hamas to do what's necessary to end this. And again, that could be tomorrow.
It is important to highlight that while the United States is working tirelessly to contain the conflict from spreading elsewhere, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in a film statement, stressed that anyone expecting Israel to cease fire is evidently delusional.
We are continuing the war to the end. It will continue until Hamas is eliminated, until victory. Whoever thinks that we will stop is detached from reality. We will not stop the fighting until all of the goals that we have set are achieved: the elimination of Hamas, the release of our hostages, and the removal of the threat from Gaza. We are attacking Hamas with fierce fire everywhere, including today. We are also attacking their accomplices near and far. All Hamas terrorists, from the first to the last, are dead men walking. They have only two possibilities: surrender or die.
Meanwhile, in the Red Sea, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, who visited an Israeli naval vessel operating near the coast of Eilat, asserted that Jerusalem would not tolerate threats and attempts to harm Israeli territory, highlighting further that the Israeli Navy and Air Force are preparing for the command to act.
Navy troops of the vessels INS Hirev, INS Hanet, and INS Megan, I commend you for your activities over the past days in defense of the State of Israel against threats from afar, from the sea and ground. There are still many missions ahead of us. Best of luck. May you succeed in your missions.
The remarks by Jerusalem's top defense official were seemingly made in response to the latest statement by the leader of the Houthi tribe, which dominates the Iranian proxy Ansar Allah in Yemen.
The Americans announced a new move. The Americans were moving from the beginning and sought from the beginning to protect the passing Israeli ships and the ships associated with Israel. Their battleships, some of them are advancing, some of them are lagging behind, and some of them are on the side parallel, trying since the beginning to provide all forms of protection to the Israeli ships. But what they are seeking now is to involve others in protecting Israeli ships and protecting ships linked to Israel.
The Houthi tribal leader, whose organization's motto declares its aspiration to destroy both Israel and the United States respectively, further asserted in his televised address that his Iranian-backed group Ansar Allah would strike back at any vessel attempting to thwart its own attacks against maritime shipping.
We will not stand idly by if the Americans are tempted to escalate further and commit foolishness by targeting our country or waging war against it. Any American targeting of our country will be targeted by us, and we will make American battleships, interests, and navigation a target for our missiles, drones, and military operations.
وطائراتنا المسيرة وعملياتنا العسكرية.
In parallel to prospects of escalation between the Iranian proxy in Yemen and the U.S.-led task force to protect the freedom of maritime navigation in the Red Sea, U.S. Central Command announced that Iraqi militias, believed to be affiliated with the Islamic Revolutionary Guards of Iran, have yet again targeted the Iraqi Al-Assad air base, which houses U.S. service members, yesterday morning. And while the Iraqi terror groups perpetrated an act of unprovoked aggression against the U.S. service members, the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve, which is operating against the Islamic State in both Syria and Iraq, merely passed the location from which the attack originated to Iraqi security forces, who moved in to investigate the location. Consequently, it has been reported that Iraqi forces located and seized a flatbed truck that was modified to launch rockets. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I'd like to encourage you once more to pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. Moreover, it is important to highlight that TV7 Israel is 100% donation-based, namely a non-profit ministry, with all of our productions available free of charge. Therefore, if you're blessed by our daily updates and would like to help us bear the costs, please consider making a donation. You can do so by visiting our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. I'm Jonathan Hassan, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, we'll see you during our upcoming TV7 Israel updates. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.